Hello again. My name is Sidney Winston. I'm a humanist, an atheist, a Zionist, a Jew, and a very, very serious dog lover. I am a lover of dogs. Well, it looks like we've come to the end here. I think the saga. How's that? Do I look like a Ukrainian soldier yet? So the saga of the Titan Submersible seems to be pretty much resolved. But I need to catch up, and I'm sure you need to catch up with events that have unfolded since I was last broadcasting. So I say, let's get to it. Okay. So the last time I had graphics on board, they were discussing this ROV here. Yeah, this ROV that hasn't even made it to the crash site or to the wreck site. So let's see, we have breaking news as of about 45 minutes ago. Landing frame and a rear cover from the submersible among the debris. We have just had an update from dive expert David Mearns, who says the debris includes a landing frame and a rear cover from the submersible. Mearns is a friend of passengers aboard the Titan. Mearns has told BBC that the president of the Explorers Club, which is connected to the diving and rescue community, provided this new information. All right, here we have a pretty expansive little post. What is the situation in the area right now? This post was published about 40 minutes ago. So the ship's in the hunt for the Titan submersible. In the top here, you see, well, you don't see, because you don't see my, you don't see the cursor. But anyway, in the top, the Titan wreck site is a big red dot, and you can see it in the map. And if I go down a little bit like that, the Titan wreck site is still with a big red dot, but of course there's a group of vessels that are moving around the area. So what do we know? We know that a debris field was discovered in the search area for the missing Titan submersible, and we're expecting the Coast Guard to give an update in the next few hours. We do have an updated map showing where the different ships involved in the search are currently located in the Atlantic. So the Horizon Arctic is the vessel. The Horizon Arctic, this one here. Oh, good, you can see my cursor. The Horizon Arctic is the vessel which was operating the ROV that found the debris field. Aha! The three vessels seen on the far left, including John Kelbert, belong to the Canadian Coast Guard. It's this one, and this one. The Deep Energy vessel also involved in the search sits above the approximate site of the Titanic wreck, a wreck around which 3 other vessels are stationed. So the deep energy vessel is right there between the Scandi Vinland and the Horizon Arctic. So that's kind of apparently above the site. And then they said, then there's the Polar Prince. Oh shit! Hold on a minute. We got some misalignment here. Just give me a second. I'll fix it. There we go. Boom. The Polar Prince, the vessel used to transport the missing submersible to the site of the Titanic wreckage, is seen north of the grouping. The Polar Prince, there it is, very top. Yeah, very top. Now you can see my cursor. This is weird. Oh, hold on. Ah, now you can see. Good, good, good. There's the Polar Prince right here. And lastly, Glass Bay, also Canadian, is currently southeast of the site, with Polar Atlantic Merlin stationed northeast. So what you got here is the Glass Bay here at the bottom, and the Atlantic Merlin, all for nothing really. And we'll go up to the next post. Titan submersible parts believed to be found among the debris. So let's see, parts of the Titan sub believed to have been located among the debris: the porthole window, the rear cover, and the landing frame. We have uploaded this image to show where the landing frame and rear cover are located on the Titan submersible. Fucking hell. These are the parts that have reportedly been found among debris on the seabed near the Titanic wreck. So looking at this, you got the porthole window, gone. The rear cover, that's gone. And the landing frame, that's gone. So if you remove the rear cover and you remove the porthole window, you just have the cylinder holding the people, which can't be holding the people anymore, because that's what would happen in an implosion, surely. If you've got the porthole window and you've got the rear cover and you've got the landing frame, they're all really weak. They're nothing. They've got nothing to do with the pressure, I would imagine. I don't know if the porthole window is under pressure or not. But then again, they haven't found anything else, so I still say it's an implosion at this stage of the game. And let's go to the next post. Right, this post is 14 minutes. It was posted 14 minutes ago. Titanic Explorer's heart goes out to all the crew members. Oh, I guess we could play this.
This is a styrofoam cup that was about that big, a big extra large one. That the night before I took 24 of them with a Sharpie, wrote messages on them. This one was I did for my late father. And they go outside the sub in a collection basket. And that's your souvenir. You don't touch anything down there taking you back, but you get these because they're outside the sub in a potato sack exposed to the pressure, and that's what 7,000 psi does to these cups. So that's your cool little souvenir and your pictures now.
Oh man, all right, let's read here. Here in St. John's, the harbour is quiet, a stark contrast to the desperate search mission unfolding hundreds of miles just off the coast. At the St. John's War Memorial Park, we met Larry Daly, a local Titanic explorer who successfully completed a dive to the shipwreck in 2003 with film director James Cameron. Just 2 weeks ago, Daly said he shared a beer with one of the missing crew members, P.H. Nargiole. Now he's holding out hope for his safe return. We weren't talking about the dives, we were just talking about the old times, he said, adding that Nargiole has been a mentor to him for years. Although he doesn't have direct experience with OceanGate or the crew running the Titan's expedition, Daly said he was thinking of those who were aboard. My heart goes out to all the crew members. It's been like that all week. Next post. Next post is at 1 minute ago. This has been posted. I've seen this before. More details on search patterns. Well, this is really kind of... Where's the debris field? Where's the damn debris field? This is not telling us anything. This is not telling us. That's the best they got at this point. Looks like we're going to be... we're going to be waiting for like... let's hold on a second. I'll do something. Hang on a minute. Something's... Just give me a moment. I'm still composing myself. And I'm looking for the right link. I don't have a link. Oh, let's just try that. Okay. All right, folks. I'm almost there. Oh, finally. So the time is 11:19 a.m. here on the west coast of Canada. The news conference is scheduled for 12 noon my time here in Western Canada, on the west coast of Canada, I should say. So that means we have a whole 40 minutes to wait for this. Now we can follow the very slow the very irregular posts by the BBC, which is probably going to land up doing. But what I would like to do before we go there is just to get rid of that. What I want to do, and I just want to check to see if my voice is up to it. I'll have some coffee. Please enjoy me with a sip of coffee. Join me in having a sip of coffee to soothe the vocal cords. I love coffee. If you want to buy me a coffee, there's a link right there. I also want to show you something. Look. This is the response you get when you go to OceanGate.com, the website. Let me just move that out there. Look. The handshake failed. There's a host error at OceanGate.com. So if any of you want to try and connect with OceanGate.com. I hope you have better luck than I did. But be that as it may, that wasn't the main thing I wanted to bring to your attention. This is what I wanted to bring to your attention. Let's go here. From Only Sky Media, written by M.L. Clark on June the 20th, A Tale of Two Vessels Lost at Sea. And I'd like to read this out to you. Overview. A recently shipwrecked migrant vessel at Pylos and a lost submersible near wreckage from the Titanic create an easy contrast for reflecting on injustice. Are there any dangers in pitting sea crises against one another? Interesting, huh? So it's a 4-minute read. I can't promise I will be less than 4 minutes. On June 13, a fishing boat overladen with smuggled migrants were detected by the Greek Coast Guard near Pylos, in the Ionian region of the Mediterranean Sea. By June 14, the ship had capsized and sunk, with 104 migrants rescued, 78 found dead, and hundreds more missing and presumed dead. The Coast Guard maintains that the ship was still in motion, having covered 30 nautical miles between detection and sinking when it capsized, but on Sunday, a BBC report drawing from marine traffic data stated that the ship had been stationary for at least 7 hours before its collapse. This accords with reports from Syrian immigrants who claim that the Coast Guard actively attempted to tow the vessel, causing its collapse. Migration researchers note that this is a familiar charge for the Greek Naval Authority. The UNHCR has called for a special investigation. Meanwhile, a search and rescue operation is underway for a commercial submersible with 5 occupants who paid $250,000 apiece for an excursion to the wreckage of the RMS Titanic, and who went missing on Sunday. With around 4 days of emergency capacity at most, Canadian and U.S. Coast Guards have little time left to locate the sub at nearly 13,000 feet deep, around 900 miles east of Cape Cod, or 435 miles from St. John's, Newfoundland. Hamish Harding, a 58-year-old billionaire, is among those on the OceanGate-operated vessel, along with OceanGate's CEO Stockton Rush. So too are Shahzada and 19-year-old Suleiman Dawood, British citizens from one of Pakistan's wealthiest families, and Paul Henry Nargiolais, a 77-year-old former French Navy diver. According to David Pogue, a CBS correspondent who partook in an earlier tour, the passengers would have had to have signed a waiver acknowledging the risk of death 3 times on the first page, because this experimental submersible vessel has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Unsurprisingly, these events have made for easy contrasts online. On the one hand, we have the death of many people whose names we might never know, human beings driven by war, persecution, and economic precarity from their homes, exploited by smugglers, and ultimately subject to the choices of Greek authorities for better and for worse. On the other hand, we have humans whose lives of relative ease provided them opportunities to spend more money than most will ever see in a lifetime on a pleasure ride, and who are now at risk of dying from it. But while humans are pattern-seeking by nature, when two events in close proximity offer some parallels, it can be easy to take the wrong lesson from the contrast. What, if anything, do we gain from thinking about these sea crises together? Okay, the value of comparing these events. The proximity in time of these two events is just a coincidence, but the frequency with which tragedy now strikes migrants desperate to reach European shores all but guarantees that there would have been some recent hardship on the Greek coast to contrast with the latest sensation of a race against time to save affluent people who were at sea by choice. Yet, as ever, reality also tends to outdo fiction by offering on-the-nose details no novelist could get away with. Like the fact that this submersible was exploring the Titanic in the first place. What better place to stage a pat story of human hubris than the site where over 1,500 people, most from lower classes, died in 1912 because of the overconfidence of the rich sending a ship to sea without sufficient lifeboats. When such narrative contrasts emerge in our news cycles, we have a brief window in which to push for greater political action, in this case against a global economy in which a few are able to pursue elaborate and costly passions while others die for want of the bare necessities. Another such example arose earlier in the pandemic when Amazon's profit soared and Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin launched its first commercial human flight, while most were still living in lockdown and millions were dying of COVID-19. But one needn't be among the world's wealthiest for outrage to emerge around stories about those who take risks to survive and those who take risks for pleasure. A few weeks ago, a mountaineer on Mount Everest allegedly snubbed the Sherpa who carried him for hours to safety, sparking renewed criticism of the poor treatment by tourists of the famous climbing site, and of the Tibetan, Nepali, and Malaysian Sherpas who make it possible for foreign adventurers to achieve their dreams upon it. Limitations when comparing such events. But while contrasting news events is inevitable, we still need to watch the rhetoric that all too easy comparisons can yield. Glib social media comments about the perks of a billionaire dying, as one might, if the submersible isn't recovered safely and soon, are predictable in our frustrated times. They're not particularly useful. Neither is a comparison between such sea crises that doesn't offer a coherent path for political action. Where exactly is the policy through line that connects the culture of abundance behind OceanGate missions to an overburdened Greek state that lacks the resources and political capacity to mitigate local xenophobic response to the many desperate refugees arriving on European shores? On a superficial level, these two events at sea speak to the vastly different worlds in which human beings live, some getting to pursue and even die for their dreams and passions, some driven by extreme life circumstances into cruel, anonymous deaths. But if our only reaction to this contrast is to dismiss one human life's value in favor of another's, or to condemn the recklessness of an affluent outing while desperate people are driven to unsafe crossings, the greater point has been lost. The Mediterranean migrant crisis, which is fueled by dictatorial civil wars, ethnic persecution, dead-end economies, forced conscription, and other threat of death, and climate change-informed resource conflicts, is not slowing anytime soon. Death rates in the crossing also spiked this year to levels not seen since 2017, due in part to rigid border policies and delayed rescue operations. Could individuals of outsized wealth be volunteering more of their time and resources to address urgent problems instead of joyriding? Yes, absolutely. But the fault ultimately lies with public financing systems so deeply compromised that it will take years to refocus state funding models to better address rising humanitarian needs. Right now, people are dying in the water. If we want a world of equal dignity, recognizing this fact as terrible, irrespective of the wealth bracket of the people dying, is where we start to push for change. Well, no, there's another element just brought into. Now there's a political element. I don't think I really agree with that article, because you might as well fault the people who are rich and wealthy for being born in an area, into families, into communities that are rich and wealthy. Fault them for having connections and the foresight and the education and the drive to be the best, to achieve something that nobody else has achieved before. Why don't you fault these people for where they were born? Those migrants, unfortunately, were not born in the United States. Those migrants are in a position that they have chosen on their own. Now, I do have a position on migrants, in that I don't think they should be allowed in at all anyway. Illegal migrants. It's like, if you're going to complain about the illegal migrants crossing the southern United States border, then you have just as much of a complaint to lodge against illegal migrants all of a sudden arriving on the shores of a country in a boat. I do not support any of that, because, and it's not, and I did say that I was a humanist up front, and I am, but my experience, having grown up in Africa, having traveled Western Europe, France, and places like that, Greece, where a lot of Africans are, men that have just run away from their countries, I've seen what happens to them when they actually arrive. They get off the boat and they say, fine, that's it, take care of me now. I'm a refugee. So I don't trust the migrants. None of them. Not even one of them do I trust. Yeah, and you might consider this a very, very harsh position on my part. But reality, my friends, is reality. It's not going to change. What I know about people, and about African people, and about Nigerian people, and about the kind of, to me, and especially coming from South Africa and knowing the street people there, to me, the vast majority of people, no matter where you are, vast majority of people are scammers. Every single migrant is a scammer. And I'll just leave it at that. It's a good topic for future discussion. What's happening? Oh boy. Guess what we're getting into now? Alright. There's a new post. A new post that I've missed by 7 fucking minutes. How dare I? All right. Let me just switch screens here. Okay, so 11:30. It's now 11:37. Headline: If sub exploded, death would have been instantaneous. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Exploded. If sub imploded, right. All right, let's get to the part that's kind of yucky. The passengers on board the missing Titan sub would have died instantly and wouldn't even have known there was a problem if the vessel had imploded, a former US Navy physician has said. The remark came after the BBC was told by a friend of passengers aboard the Titan that the debris discovered includes a landing frame and a rear cover from the submersible. Dale Mole, former US Navy physician, said the claim was indicative of an implosion. Death would have been instantaneous, he told the BBC. Though this outcome would be tragic, Mole said, do you hear some barking? Perhaps? Yeah, perhaps. Though this outcome would be tragic, Mole said that being stuck inside the vessel would have been a far worse alternative for the Titan crew. You can just imagine what it would have been like. It's cold, your oxygen is running out. If we can't have them back, this is the best possible scenario. If we can't have them back, implosion is the best possible scenario. I guess from a humane point of view. Alright, so what I haven't done today is I haven't gone to the chat. I need to do that. I haven't gone to the chat since. And it looks to me like the super chats are open. If you guys would like to experiment with it, feel free. I might even react. I don't know. This is something new. I've seen it before, but I've never really paid any attention to it before. So, who wants to send me a couple of bucks just to see if the super chat thing works? No purchase required. I always remember seeing that in offers, Enter to win. No purchase required. Alright, so what am I looking for? Not that one. Maybe that one. No. How about that one? No. I've run out of windows. I have run out of windows. This is weird. There we go. What's that one? Oh. Alright, I'm just going to make some adjustments, ladies and gentlemen. Just give me a moment. Give me my usual Sydney Winston moment to make adjustments. How's that sound? Well. Do I suspect as I do? There we go. I got it. There we go. So there is the situation with now that thing's in the way. Can't oh, there's another post coming. Let's see. What the debris found might suggest. This is posted at 11:39, 2 minutes ago. Oh, let's take this. Let's do this one. Let's see. So, we now have an indication of the nature of the debris reported by the U.S. Coast Guard on Twitter. It is a cover from the aft or rear end of the Titan submersible and its landing frame, the section under the sub that enables it to sit in a ship deck or on the seafloor. This information hasn't been formally confirmed by the USCG, but we expect it to be when the agency holds a media conference in the next half an hour. It is bad news. It points to the scenario experts had feared right from the outset. That the Titan had experienced a catastrophic failure of its pressure vessel and imploded. The pressure at Titanic depth is immense, some 4,000 tons per square meter. If there was any flaw in the construction of the vessel, this force would have exploited it. Search teams will continue to study the area where the debris was found, looking for further fragments. For the moment, they will just be photographing items, but at some stage, robot subs will almost certainly be tasked with bringing some of the debris to the surface. A formal mishap inquiry will need to be instigated. It's not clear whose responsibility that will be, because the situation is very unusual. But the US Coast Guard would be a leading candidate. I guess we could listen to this. What's he got to say?
We think it is the landing frame from the sub, and we also think it's the aft cover as well, this sort of pointy structure on the sub. And obviously that's tremendously bad news, because what that does indicate is that quite possibly, very probably, this sub suffered some sort of catastrophic failure on Sunday, and it really is now just a recovery operation. There is tremendous pressure at depth. I mean, it's hard to convey just what it is like at the depth of the Titanic. It's about 4,000 tons per square meter, okay? 4,000 tons per square meter, pushing on all sides of this vehicle. And if there is any sort of structural weakness here, then that pressure will expose it and it will destroy this vessel. The ends of the sub are titanium, very, very strong indeed. So they may well find bits and pieces of that. The center is carbon fiber. That's probably been blown to smithereens. I mean, it would literally have been an implosion if it is the case that part of this sub just suddenly failed. And I'm afraid that would have been catastrophic for the individuals inside.
See, these are the kinds of things that bother me. Is there's a before implosion and there's an after implosion, but there's also a during implosion. And my guess would be that physically the implosion of the cylinder. How do you make a cylinder like that? Okay, you got a cylinder and it implodes and it just like that flattens. That's how I would imagine it to take place. But then there is the very, very slow motion footage in my head about what happens to these bodies during implosion. I want to know. Is it possible to find any peace? I don't know. But that's not where I want to be right now. I said I wanted to be at the where is the no. Aha. Alright, looks like I've got a window messed up here, obviously. I want to get to your chats, guys. I haven't looked at it yet, but I will get there and we'll go through each and every one of them about that, baby. Each and every one. But I'm having a physiological reaction to the 5 people who were lost, and I'm just trying to deal with it. That's all. I think I found it. I think we're there. Let's give it a try. Excellent. So let's go to the chat for June the 22nd. Well, it's not necessarily for June the 22nd because it's possible that this could carry on. Although I doubt it. I doubt it very much. Okay. We have in the chat, we have Tom. Hello, Tom. Welcome. For one thing, the problem is not despot leadership, it's Islam and the tolerance for the bullshit that they create. What were you referring to there, Tom? Maybe I'll open the room so you guys can come in and talk. And that sounds like wokeism. The more waivers and the more excuses they create to break this law, the more that children and others will continue to come. Yeah, you talk about migrants, right? Adam, hey Sydney, it looks like it imploded instantly by the vibes coming out, and the hull was breached. Would have been weakened after every dive it took. Want to buy a carbon fiber submarine from me? Sure. If you pay me $100,000, I'll take it away. I'll take it off your hands. Tom, Nigerians that immigrated to America legally prosper and go for higher education. That's why black people in America don't like African immigrants. Yeah, makes sense. Adam says it's a very brittle material, this carbon fiber submarine. Somehow, somewhere they cut corners on it, and safety protocols have been naively assumed all this time. Yeah, I think the corners that were cut, and I mentioned this yesterday, was that the thickness of that hull, of that cylinder, was by regulation not to be less than 7 millimeters or 7 units. Let's call it 7 millimeters because it's a unit. And the OceanGate had shaved it down to 5 millimeters. So the strength of that submersible against the outside pressure would have diminished considerably. I mean, like the guy said, even one little small fault and the whole thing's a pancake. Adam, because nothing happened before a few days ago. You know, yeah, when did it implode? Did it implode right at the point of no communication? That would make sense. And the debris field obviously wasn't found because there was no rover looking for it or in the area to find it. Tom, no suffering. You're right. They must have had suffering, unless it was la-di-da-di-dum-dum, having a good time, da-da-da, gone. No, that's no suffering. But if there's any hint of what's to come, there is suffering. Oh, I don't even have that on the screen. Sorry. What a dum-dum. What a dum-dum. There you go, no suffering. That's over here. Tom says, now Tom is going into his little cocoon, and he's going to have a talk with the Creator, and then he's going to write down what the Creator said. Okay, let's see what the Creator said. The Creator said he did not want a bunch of 50-year-old white guy, veteran submariner. He wanted diversity that would be inspirational. He fired a veteran that warned of the carbon fiber not being up. Every cell membrane would be crushed and ruptured of every person. I want to see that. I want somebody to come in and tell us all about that. In the meantime, I do believe there's been another update from the BBC. Crew on board the submersible lost, OceanGate says. Well, that is not very good news. Let me switch over to the newsroom. We now believe that our CEO Stockton Rush, Shahzada Dawood, and his son Suleiman Dawood, Hamish Harding, and Paul Henry Nargiole have sadly been lost. There's another one. OceanGate statement in full. And here's the full statement from the company. We now believe that our CEO Stockton Rush, Shahzada Dawood, and his son Suleiman Dawood, Hamish Harding, and Paul Henry Nargiole have sadly been lost. These men were true explorers who shared a distinct spirit of adventure and a deep passion for exploring and protecting the world's oceans. Our hearts are with these 5 souls and every member of their families during this tragic time. We grieve the loss of life and joy they brought to everyone they knew. This is an extremely sad time for our dedicated employees who are exhausted and grieving deeply over this loss. The entire OceanGate family is deeply grateful for the countless men and women from multiple organizations of the international community who expedited wide-ranging resources and have worked so very hard on this mission. We appreciate their commitment to finding these 5 explorers and their days and nights of tireless work in support of our crew and their families. This is a very sad time for the entire explorer community and for each of the family members of those lost at sea. We respectfully ask that the privacy of these families be respected during this most painful time. What are you doing? Yeah, this is I don't have any words here. I don't know what else. I don't know what else to contribute. Best thing I can do is set something up like. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. Okay, so the best thing I can do, let me try something. Let's try something a little bit more innovative. I'll try that. And let me slide it along like that so you can see in real time what's going on. What else? Okay. I'll get it. I'm always getting there, aren't I? Alright, now I'm really getting there. I'm going to slowly fade myself in. Alright, well these titles are all messed up, aren't they? Bear with me, folks. This is a one-man corporation. One-man studio. trying to get my OCD sated. Alright, so we got a choice here. I can open up the room and you can all come in and have your chat. Or we can just wait for BBC. We can wait for the BBC to bring in their, to start their press conference. There we go. Press conference for Titan sub will soon start. A press conference with the latest official updates on the status of the Titan sub and its passengers is scheduled to begin at the top of the hour. The update comes after the Titan Submersible's operating company OceanGate just released a statement saying that they believe that the 5 crew members to have sadly been lost. The US Coast Guard earlier said on Twitter that parts of the sub may have been found amid recently discovered debris. So, let's see if we can even adjust this. Let's get rid of that. Call it something else. There we go. Look any better? Sure, why not? There we go. Okay, let's see. Who did I miss? The press conference will start soon. Who was on board the submersible? Now we have to go through this again. As we have been reporting, OceanGate believes the 5 people who were on the missing Titan submersible have been lost. The 5 were Hamish Harding, Shahzuda, Suleiman, Paul Henry, and Stockton. We know all about them. They've been lost. We don't have to reopen that can of worms. But we're about 0 minutes left from the update. Let me see if I can do better with the update thingy. The thingy. There you go. Let's give that a try. The press conference has started. The U.S. Coast Guard and other officials gathered in Boston, Massachusetts have now started the afternoon press conference on the fate of the Titan submersible. Stay tuned as we bring you updates as they happen. Well, I'd like to go and watch this thing as it happens, so excuse me while I go and search. For something, maybe on YouTube, huh? Where is the... Where is the live feed of this thing? Right, now let's look for something. I've got two watchers according to, I've got two viewers according to YouTube, and according to YouTube on the screen I've got two viewers as well. Hello guys. Well, thanks for hanging in there. But I'm not finding any Titan news. Oops. Where is it live? Weon. I don't want Weon. Strike me, the bastards. Filters. Live. There we go.
This casualty and the response. And so we'll provide that information. So this is an incredibly complex operating environment on the seafloor, over 2 miles beneath the surface. And so the remote operating vehicle has been searching, and it is highly capable. And we've been able to classify parts of the pressure chamber for the Titan submersible. Let me refer to one of my undersea experts here, Mr. Paul Hankin, to talk about the nature of some of the debris.
Thank you, Admiral. So essentially we found 5 different major pieces of debris that told us that it was the remains of the Titan. The initial thing we found was the nose cone, which was outside of the pressure hull. We then found a large debris field. Within that large debris field, we found the front end bell of the pressure hull. That was the first indication that there was a catastrophic event. Shortly thereafter, we found a second smaller debris field. Within that debris field, we found the other end of the pressure hull, the aft end bell, which was basically comprised of the totality of that pressure vessel. We continue to map the debris field, and as the Admiral said, we will do the best we can to fully map out what's down there.
Thank you very much. It's a very difficult question to ask, but it will be an important one for the families, of course. What are the prospects of recovering the bodies of missing people?
So the questions was related. I'm restating the question from the standpoint of sometimes it's hard to hear the question here. What are the prospects for recovering crew members? And so this is a incredibly unforgiving environment down there on the seafloor. And the debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. And so we'll continue to work and continue to search the area down there, but I don't have an answer for prospects at this time.
Admiral, it's Tom Costello at NBC News. Is there any suggestion, any suggestion at all that the sub itself collided with the wreckage of Titanic, or that instead it might have imploded above the wreckage and then rained down nearby?
So the question was, is there any question as to whether or not the sub collided with the Titanic or whether it imploded above and debris field created from that? So the location of the Titan submersible was in an area that was approximately 1,600 feet from the wreck of the Titanic. I have an expert here that is familiar with that area and can talk about the debris field and what the debris field indicates in terms of where the casualty may have occurred.
Rear Admiral, really quickly, can you tell me when that...
Wait, let's get the expert voice, please. Hang on a second. The expert voice is coming up to answer the question.
Thank you, Admiral. So the question is, where does the wreck lie in relation to the Titanic? I didn't hear the Admiral's answer. I think 1,600 feet. Is that correct, Admiral? Yep. So that's off the bow of Titanic. It's in an area where there is not any debris of Titanic. It is a smooth bottom. There, to my knowledge and anything I've seen, there's no Titanic wreckage in that area. And again, 200 plus meters from the bow, and consistent with the location of last communication for an implosion in the water column. And the size of the debris field is consistent with that implosion in the water column.
Admiral, if I can ask you a question, in terms of the timing here, you say that this was a catastrophic implosion. And I know it's early on, but is it your estimation that this happened right at the moment when they lost contact, an hour and 45 minutes after their descent?
So the question was about the timing of the catastrophic implosion. Right now, it is too early to tell with that. We know that as we've been prosecuting this search over the course of the last 72 hours and beyond, that we've had sonar buoys in the water nearly continuously and have not detected any catastrophic events when those sonar buoys have been in the water. So,
Admiral, can you just...
So we will. The question was, what happens from here? What's the next phase? And so right now, again, our thoughts are with the families and making sure that they have an understanding as best as we can provide of what happened and begin to find some closure. In terms of the large process, we're going to continue to investigate the site of the debris field. And then I know that there's also a lot of questions about how, why, and when did this happen. And so, those are questions that we will collect as much information as we can on now, while the governments are meeting and discussing, what an investigation of this nature of a casualty might look like. This is something that happened. I'll just remind everybody. This is something that happened in a remote portion of the ocean with people from several different countries around the world, and so it is a complex case to work through. But I'm confident that those questions will begin to get answered.
Will the Coast Guard lead the investigation, sir?
Is there any suggestion that time factors, speed, anything could have prevented this or saved 5 people on board, or is this quite simply a catastrophe?
The question was there any suggestion that time factors may have played a role or a consideration in the casualty here? And so the debris field is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. Again, while we were prosecuting the search, we had listening devices in the water throughout and did not hear any signs of catastrophic failure from those. And so we're going to continue to investigate, or we're going to continue to document the information there and understand, based on all the information we have, the timeline.
Admiral, can I ask you, Admiral?
So the question was, what are the resources required for the investigation, and which ships will be pulling out and staying in? And so it's too early for me to talk about an investigation. That's a decision that's going to be taken outside of the search and efforts that I was leading. But we do have a number of vessels. We have 9 vessels on the scene right now. We had medical personnel on scene. We had other technicians on scene. And so we will begin to demobilize personnel and vessels from the scene over the course of the next 24 hours. But we're going to continue remote operations on the sea floor. And I don't have a timeline for when we would intend to stop remote operations on the seafloor at this point.
Admiral, as a result of this, do you think there should be changes in the way these are safety rated or inspected so that this won't happen again?
Yeah, the question was essentially about do you think that there should be changes in safety ratings or inspection for these standards? I know that there's a lot of questions about why, how, when this happened, and the members of the Unified Command, have those questions too, as professionals and experts that work in this environment. And this is an incredibly difficult and dangerous environment to work in out there. But those questions about the regulations that apply and the standards, that's going to be, I'm sure, focus of future review. Right now, we're focused on documenting the scene and continuing the subfloor operation.
We don't know the timing here, but there was the banging rings yesterday that redirected and deployed the ROVs to this area. Is there anything conclusive in those noises, and did that redirection and then finding this debris field today all help?
So throughout the search efforts, we reacted to the information that we had available to us, and while we continue to send it off for deeper analysis. Again, really complex operating environment for us to work in. Let me check with the experts, but there doesn't appear to be any connection between the noises and the location on the seafloor. Again, this was a catastrophic implosion of the vessel, which would have generated a significant broadband sound down there that the sonar buoys would have picked up.
Admiral, you mentioned closure. Admiral, you mentioned closure for the families. Admiral, can I just ask you about your comment regarding the families?
This was a incredibly complex operation, and we were able to mobilize an immense amount of gear to the site in just a really remarkable amount of time, given the fact that we started without any sort of vessel response plan for this or any sort of pre-stage resources. And so the equipment that was brought on site this morning that we were using was a pelagic ROV capable of operating at 6,000 meters, cameras, sonar, other articulating arms and resources on it. And it, we had to transport it here through C-17 aircraft. This is 2 aircraft that it took to get this up here. And so we've really had the right gear on site and worked as swiftly as possible to bring all of the capabilities that we had to bear to this search and rescue effort. And it was just a huge international and interagency effort to make this happen. So I'm really grateful for all of the responders that came out to support this and really search for the vessel. It is a difficult day for all of us, and it's especially difficult for the families, and our thoughts are with the families today. But this was an immense support, and we had the right gear on the bottom to find it.
Admiral, you mentioned Admiral.
Will you attempt to recover the bodies, can we ask you? The victims, will they be recovered?
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending this afternoon. There are no future planned press conferences. Updates will be shared to the USCG Northeast Twitter page, and our staff will be available to take down any questions following this. Thank you.
And give the names of the two gentlemen who spoke.
I can get that back to you afterwards, just so I can confirm. Thank you.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here is J.V. Buno.
The U.S. Coast Guard confirming the worst outcome. All 5 Titan submersible passengers presumed dead after an ROV finding debris on the ocean floor near the wreckage of the Titanic, and among the debris, pieces of the hull.
I don't feel good.
A catastrophic implosion to the Coast Guard occurring during OceanGate's expedition miles down in the Atlantic. Our thoughts and prayers are with the faces that you see, the families of loved ones of those that you see on your screen. JB here with you live, folks, on WFLA Now, alongside Josh Benson of WFLA News Channel 8. Here with you in the Stream Center, breaking this down. It's a somber press conference. Let's just start there. This is somber all the way around. A lot of answers still to come. But processing this is worth a moment just to take a step back, evaluate this for what this is. This is a tragedy. It will mark underwater exploration for some time to come. But before we talk about how this impacts the future, in the now, these families are grieving. The colleagues of the 5 aboard are grieving. Think about the search and rescue crews that raced against the clock, working around the clock to try and bring this to the happy ending people around the world were cheering for. Here we are. It's the worst possible outcome, Josh, and it's a difficult one to swallow.
Yeah, and as you said, I think this is a very tight-knit community from the exploration side of things. I mean, you've seen some of the guests on the national networks, even on this stream, talk about how they have friends who are on that vessel. That's hard to hear now, knowing that those people are gone. And so I think that's extremely hard for them. It's extremely hard for the family. And I think everybody watching, as you said, was hoping for that Hollywood ending. They would find the hull, they would be able to pull it up, and they'd be alive and just in the nick of time. But that wasn't the case. And I think I really wanted that last question to be answered before they shut down the news conference. Will they try to recover the bodies? And is that even possible? I know a lot of people online are just wondering, they're still kind of confused. Like, are they gone? Are they really? And the answer is yes. It's just a matter of they still can't find them. That's the problem. When you're talking about the magnitude of the ocean, you're talking about an implosion of this catastrophic implosion they're talking about of this vessel. To me, that sounds like it was essentially blown apart. And now where those bodies would be able to be recovered is beyond me. So the ROVs are staying on the floor of the ocean for now to try to collect more evidence. You had heard one of the speakers talk about 5 pieces of the debris that was found to give them confirmation that for sure this was the submersible. But the question remains, will those bodies be recovered, and can they at this point?
How are the remains intact? Are they recoverable? This means something to those families, being able to remove the remains, of course, from the depths of the ocean. There is enough loss of life at the bottom of the ocean in this section of the North Atlantic. Clearly, with, of course, the Titanic 1,600 feet away, the last thing that we want to do is add to the loss of life there. If the human remains, if the bodies, again, based on them being presumed dead, if they can be recovered from the deep, that will, of course, be something that will bring at least something to these families. But it is heartbreaking. This is heartbreaking. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with everybody. We are going to be taking your questions and your comments, and I hope that our comment section is filled with thoughts and prayers.
You know what? Why don't you take your thoughts and prayers and shove them up your ass? I'm fucking sick and tired of hearing thoughts and prayers thrown out willy-nilly. Nobody fulfills those. When you say your thoughts and prayers go out, how long is do those thoughts last? Are they okay for as long as it takes you to complete the sentence? Does that mean your thought is now over? And as long as it completes you to say you're going to pray even though you don't? Platitudes, people. That's all it is. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm sorry for your loss. I share in your loss. Don't fucking come up and give us the thoughts and prayers bullshit, okay? We are not stupid. Thoughts and prayers. Anyway, now you've pissed me off. Now the Christians have gone and done it. So let's go back quickly to the BBC, see what they got going on. According to them, no future press conferences planned, the US Coast Guard says. A spokesperson for the US Coast Guard says there are no future press conferences planned following the announcement of today's tragic news. With that, the press conference comes to an end. Boom! It's over. Well, I want to say that I'm moved. I actually think a part of me is grieving for those that had everything, including can you imagine the vision they must have had while they started going down, especially the passengers, the paying passengers. They've never done it before, and they're going down to see the Titanic. And they're going to come up, and then they're going to go and tell the world, and they're going to be very famous in Pakistan and in Britain and everywhere because they've seen the Titanic. And I don't know whether they had any warning or they didn't have any warning. But there's two ways of looking at this. Number one, they had no warning. They're feeling good. They're on their way down. They're almost there, 15, 30 minutes, and they're there at the bottom. And then snuffed out. Everything's gone. Their lives are gone. Their existences are gone. And the second alternative is if they had any warning at all. If there was some kind of a pre-warning that something's going to happen. And they had a chance to all look at each other. And hopefully somebody had a chance to say something, and then flat pancake. Ugh. This has been a very unpleasant stream. I do not recommend it to anybody at all, ever. But thank you for staying with me from the beginning to the end. If you want to buy me a coffee and make me feel better, please. The link is both on the screen and in the text, in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Guaranteed.